Hi everybody, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, and today I'm going to welcome you into my home. We're in my house right now, and my pantry. So the area that you see behind me here is actually my cold room, and beside it is an area that I made into my pantry, and I'm going to show you both of those today and then give you a few little tips that I've learned over the last couple of years of using these spaces, what works best in each space and why. So I'm also going to give you an update on our 31-day October food challenge, where we are eating entirely out of our food storage and not going to the grocery store at all for the entire month of October. One of the other things that I'm trying to do outside of just eating out of our food storage is to try to eat primarily the food that is needing to be made from scratch, meaning I'm not using any boxed foods or processed foods. The only thing that I've used that way in the last week, I think, has been some nacho chips that I had stored and some pasta. Outside of that, it's all things that I'm needing to make from scratch. My kitten wants to say hello. This is Pocket. You say hello, Pocket? She's the sweetest kitten in the world. And I have to be honest, I'm not actually a huge cat person. I'm more of a dog person than a cat person. Cats to me have sort of a utilitarian purpose. But this little cat, for some reason, she's just the sweetest thing, and she has wormed her way into my heart, so she gets to stay. So yeah, another member of the Little Mountain Ranch family. The cold room is about 6 by 12 feet, thereabouts. It has concrete walls on two sides and well-insulated walls on the other side. It's actually right next to my wood furnace, which you just heard the fan kick on there. And even that being in that close proximity to a heat source, I have no problem keeping it cool in here. It does have a small vent up in the roof that vents to outside that I can actually open and close or adjust the amount it's open, which brings in outside air and keeps this space perfectly cool. I've never had any issues with it getting too warm in here for things like potatoes and squash. Okay, I'm excited to show you guys this. Okay, and I'm going to apologize in advance for the fact that this is not the most tidy space in the world. So the first thing I'll show you here is down underneath this bottom shelf. This is an area that stays really cool. So I keep my potatoes all down here, and I have about 500 pounds of potatoes stored here out of the garden. And you can see this bin here of cabbage. I'm going to be processing this into sauerkraut. I just haven't had time yet, and it stays cool enough in here that these should stay good for another week or two. And on this side, I have a bunch of my cured squash. I still have quite a few squash up in a window upstairs that is still ripening, but these are all nice and ripe. This is the most amazing squash. I'm going to be definitely growing lots of these next year. It ripened faster than all my other squash, cured with a nice hard shell. It has a really dense, bright orange flesh, similar in color to this, and is really, really delicious. So there's a couple of boxes more squash down there, some more squash over there. So these carrots were some of the smaller carrots from the garden, and I just have them in a bag here, and we've been just eating out of this bag. This is gray salt, and one of these bags of salt lasts me for just about a year, and I'm running low, so I just bought another bag. One of the things that I forgot to mention that's important about the kind of pantry this is this is what I would personally call a working pantry, meaning that this isn't a long-term food storage pantry, although there's lots of food in here and it's definitely going to last us a good long while. It's not sort of a long-term prepper pantry. This, everything in this pantry is constantly being turned over, so I'm not super concerned about making sure that my flours and my beans and my rice and those kinds of things are stored in a long-term way, meaning with Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and airtight containers. I actually just use Rubbermaid containers and keep the beans and rice and those kinds of things for the most part in the bags they came in. And because we're turning everything over in this pantry within about 6 months and constantly replacing it, I'm not dealing with any issues with things going stale or going bad. If you're going to have a long-term pantry where you're storing food that's specifically set aside for emergencies, then you want to make sure that you're storing things in a long-term way, meaning that they're deprived of oxygen for the most part, because oxygen causes things to turn and go stale. That is one of the things that I would like to improve upon, besides having a working pantry like this, is to have a long-term food storage pantry that we don't touch, that's only there for in case of emergency. So that's something that I'm going to be working on over the next year. These 3 bags here are quick rolled oats. Down here is some more dried beans, kidney beans, black beans, And that's actually another bag of popcorn there. I use a lot of popcorn. This is coconut oil, and I have a lot of coconut oil. I have a year's supply of coconut oil at any given time. This one just didn't fit on the shelf with the rest of mine. Up here, this is some more dried goods that I have, and these are some vinegars that I made. I made some blueberry vinegars this year, a couple of white vinegars, balsamic vinegar in the back, dried tomatoes in here, some rose hips. The rose hips from the last video that we picked filled up this jar here, and we have about 6 more of these jars also filled with rose hips. And this is all the dried herbs from my garden, and that is dried blueberries back there. And this is my disorganized box of everything that's too small to fit on the shelves without falling over. And it's basically all my extra herbs and spices. Whenever there's a sale on, I buy a bunch, and so those stay in there. Just some freezer bags. This is actually, I didn't have anywhere else to put this, but these are organic bouillon cubes. A whole bunch of them there, and some hemp hearts there. Up here, I mostly have just like odds and ends of things that I don't use all the time, except for this one. This is actually nutritional yeast flakes, and I didn't have enough room for this big, huge tub down on my lower shelf, so that's sitting up there. I have a year's supply of Bragg's and a bunch of different kinds of vinegars, white vinegars, red vinegars, balsamic vinegars, that kind of thing. A couple odds and ends jars, some tahini for making hummus. This big jug here, this is vanilla. And this, I don't know why that is there. So my goal this year, as far as my canning goes, I wanted to get 500 quarts canned this year, and I'm almost at that. I think I have, I don't know, about 20 jars left to do before I hit that goal. We could definitely use more canned goods, especially the fruit. My kids love the canned peaches and pears and that kind of thing. Realistically, I just can't do more than this. I know some of you out there do up to 1,000 jars, which I think is just incredible, but I'm pretty happy with this for this year. Okay, so canned tomatoes, I kind of have them all over the place. I have a whole bunch of canned tomatoes. This is something that we use a lot of. Salsa, I think I did 25 jars of salsa. I did regular salsa and peach salsa over here. This is the most delicious green tomato chutney ever. I'll link the where I got this recipe from in the description box below if you want to check it out, but it is so good and everybody loves it. So I don't even know how many jars of this I did, but quite a few. These are ketchup, and I think I've done about 10 jars of ketchup, and all different kinds of pickles. Pickled asparagus, yum, I can't wait to open these. More pickles, more canned tomatoes hiding in there. This one's blueberry jam, and there's a bunch of relish hiding in behind back there. These shelves are 6 quarts deep, so they're really big, heavy duty, super thick shelves. So I made strawberry jam, strawberry rhubarb jam, blueberry jam. What else did I make? I can't remember. Oh, and plum jam, that's right. And then back there, that's actually a homemade HP sauce and canned stewed rhubarb. These are apple cider vinegar, some small jars. I always make a few small jars to give away as gifts of plum jam, and there's some chutney and also some salsas that I have as just to give away. Beets, pears. This one's banana peppers, and then jalapeno peppers. This is also called cowboy candy. Super sweet. It's like a thick, you can see that, but a thick sugary syrup with jalapenos. Super yummy on pizza. So I did a whole bunch of those. Some sauerkraut back there. I don't know why these lentils are sitting here, but I think I made about 50 quarts of spaghetti sauce, but that's what this is. And then some more jam in back there. Whenever these big tins of tomatoes come on sale, I always buy a few of those and just throw them in the back there in case I run out. And I also keep medical supplies on hand as well. Lots of different medical supplies. So these are just, I don't know why I put them here, but some hydrogen peroxide here. And back here, I don't know if you can see, but I have, it's kind of messy back there, but I have an endless supply of lids, of canning jar lids. I'm actually going to be switching from using the disposable canning lids to the Tatler lids. If any of you have any experience with Tatler lids and want to give me any tips or tricks or advice, let me know. because I am actually just going to be putting in an order for Tattler lids for the next canning season. I really want to get away from disposables as much as possible. I'll always keep a stockpile of them just in case, but I like the idea of using reusable when possible. Oh, I'm just going to add in a couple of little tips here about storing food in a cold room like this. You want to make sure your cold room's obviously well insulated. Having a vent to outside that you can adjust is a really good way to keep the temperature cool all year round. And also if you do have a window in there, make sure you block it. If you can see up there, I do have a window in this cold room, but I've just put tinfoil over it to block out the light. UV light degrades food just like it degrades anything. So if you want your food to last a long time, keep it out of light and keep it cool. A cold room like this is a really good place to store potatoes. Potatoes don't like to be stored where the humidity is high. My root cellar humidity is too high for potatoes, so I just store them in here. I've had squash last in here for up to a year, so it's the perfect temperature. I haven't actually checked to see what the temperature is in here. I just kind of go in, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that feels cool enough. So I'm sorry I can't be more helpful with that. So I'm just gonna turn my light off in here and we will head over to the pantry part of my food storage that's right next to here, and I'll show you how I kind of created a space in my basement because I did not have enough space to store everything. Okay, so you can see this. This is the, back here is the chimney wall. We have a wood cook stove in the basement over on the other side of this, as well as our fireplace upstairs and our wood furnace, which is right here. That all exhausts out of this big chimney. So I had this kind of weird space. This is my cold room here and this area here. What they originally, I think, used this for was to store their firewood and had this as a chute and shot their firewood in here. But I have turned it into a pantry. So all I did here was I used an expandable shower curtain rod here and then just some curtains here so that I can close these up. Just have some kale drying there. But yeah, so this works really well. I close this up and it stays relatively cool back there, but I don't put anything here that's going to be affected by the heat one way or another. My plan is to actually put a giant shelf across this whole entire space. But right now I just have this little one and this one over here. So I store my Instant Pot, slow cooker, pots and pans and things like that on this shelf. And then over on this side, I have tea, green tea here, some pull-ups there, some extra flour. And the reason this isn't in the cold room, normally I would put flour in the cold room, but this will be used really quickly because we're doing so much baking. Dishwasher tabs here. I have rice chips and corn chips here. This is one of the prepackaged foods that we have. And I honestly don't know why I have cranberry sauce here. I don't even remember buying that. Maybe Dan bought it, I'm not sure. Anyway, there's some cranberry sauce and then lots and lots of toilet paper and rice cakes up here. Pasta, lasagna noodles, rotini, brown rice rotini here, more pasta here, and brown rice down there. I have kidney beans, lentils, and split peas in this bin. More flour in here. Brown rice flour and a gluten-free flour there. White sugar, which I'm running low on actually. Brown sugar down in this bin. More beans in that bin. And some more chips over here. My hat goes off to people that lived in times past that had huge families and literally had to do every single solitary thing from scratch and didn't have packaged options for anything because, oh my goodness, those people were hard workers. We also do have 3 deep freezes outside that have beef and pork, chicken, turkey, salmon, and we also are going to be having some crab going in there because we did a trade with a friend for some crab, so that's really exciting. We'll notice probably in my canning that I don't have any meat canned. And I just have never gotten into canning meat, but it's something that I definitely want to get into because I don't like being so dependent on our freezers. We do have freezing temperatures from about this time of year all the way into March, so we are fairly secure as far as our frozen food for that period of time, but I would like to be able to can a bunch of meat. So should we end up not being able to keep our freezers going, for whatever reason, that we would still have meat. We do also have backup generators that in case we did end up with a power outage during a time of year that isn't cold, but still I would like the security of having some meat stored in this room as well. So that's something that I'm going to be working towards. In the future, maybe even over this winter, I might try experimenting with meat canning. I hope that you found this video interesting, everyone. I know I really enjoy looking at other people's pantries and food hauls. I don't know, what is it about us that makes us want to see things like other people's pantries? I don't know, but I love it too. So I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for me about my food storage, let me know in the comment section below. As you guys know, the comment section is probably one of my favorite parts of doing YouTube. I love interacting with you guys. It's so much fun. I hope you have a great couple of days until I see you again. Bye, everyone.